Good morning, Virgin Islanders, at home and abroad. Well, we made it through a long night as usual with the storm, but the good news is we made it through with minimal casualty and damages to property. Last night we had a little gusting around 1, 2 o'clock over here on the Big Island. Been checking in St. Thomas and St. John. Steady rains going out throughout the territory, but for the most part the roads are clear. We're going to have a little update as I'm joined today by Darrell Joshin, Director of VITEMA, Mr. Don Gregoire, who's the interim incident commander at Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority, as well as Andy Smith, the CEO of the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority, to tell you what's going on there. But before we go to them, let's go to Darrell Joshin to hear what's latest on in terms of this storm, where's it going, and what you should expect for the rest of the day.
Thank you, Governor Bryan, and good morning, Virgin Islanders. The U.S. Virgin Islands remains on a hurricane watch, is in effect still. We are also on a tropical storm warning. I will give the updates this morning as of 8 o'clock. We have a nice conversation with National Weather Service in Puerto Rico, provides updates, but the published report is as follows. The center of Tropical Storm Fiona is located near latitude 17.2 north and longitude 66.1 west. Again, latitude 17.2 north and 66.1 west. Fiona is moving to the west northwestern at 8 miles per hour, which again, about what was yesterday, very slow. A westward northwestern motion is expected to begin later today and continue through Monday, followed by a turn towards the north-northwest on Tuesday. On the forecast track, the center Fiona will be approaching Puerto Rico this morning, of course, moving away from us in the process, and move over Puerto Rico this afternoon, this evening. Fiona will then move northern coast of Dominican Republic tonight and Monday, and near the east coast of Turks and Caicos on Tuesday. The maximum sustained winds have increased near 70 miles per hour, which is up from 65 with higher gusts. Additional strengthening is forecast. Fiona is expected to become a hurricane before reaching the southern or southwestern coast of Puerto Rico today. Additional strengthening expected on Monday and Tuesday, while Fiona moves near the Dominican Republic and over the southwestern Atlantic. Tropical storm force winds extend outward to 140 miles from the center. A weather situation in Puerto Rico recently reported sustained winds of 45 miles per hour, and we had reporting here in the territory about 47 miles an hour, same area from Tropical Storm Fiona. The minimum central pressure from the Hurricane Hunter aircraft observations is 991 millibars. Governor, at 990 is when it goes to a Category 1. So we're getting very close to that. Begin is moving away from here. Hazards right now today are continue to be wind and continue to be rain right now. The rainfall predictions right now, we've already had 2 to 4 inches of rain in St. Croix over the last 48 hours and 1 to 2 inches on the St. Thomas, St. John district. We are anticipated over the next couple of days to get up to between 4 to 6 inches of rain. And of course, St. Croix will be as many as 10 inches of rain over the next several days. There is a storm surge of 1 to 2 feet for the U.S. Virgin Islands. As far as the activities are going on, we are under flash flood warning. That happened at 8:25 this morning. The alerts went out, and we will remain under flash flood warning till at least 12:30 this afternoon. If it does extend, you'll get another alert will go out. So thank you for the alerts that have been going out to keeping everybody apprised. Again, a flash flood warning is in effect right now. Seaports remain closed. And the Airport Port Authority closed both Cyril E. King on St. Thomas and Henry E. Rolson on St. Croix at 6 p.m. last evening and will remain closed until assessments can be completed. JetBlue did call in and cancel all their flights today in the territory. As far as WAPA outages, the updates that I have effective about 30 minutes ago, and of course CEO Smith may give us some more details. On St. Croix, we have outages on 6 Alpha, 10 Alpha, 4 Alpha, 2 Alpha, 8 Bravo, and 9 Bravo. On St. Thomas and St. John, the following feeders have been reported down: 7A, 6A, 7C, and 22 Mall. Line personnel are being dispatched for assessments and will begin restoration shortly. Juan F. Louis Hospital went on generator at 12:26 last night and continues to be on generator. They report no impacts to their operations at Juan F. Louis Hospital. 911 on St. Croix went on generator last night at 12:57, but 911 is fully operational. There is settling waters on the roadways, so please, if you're out and about, be very careful. Many trees and branches have fallen down and are leaning on the sides of the road. Again, St. Croix is under flash flood warning until 12:30. All three VITEMA operations centers are fully activated on St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. We currently have no curfew in effect, and no shelters are open. That's the update, Governor.
Thank you, Darrell, Director Joshin, and he's being very nice about the water on the roads. Don't traverse the roads. Stay home. It's football Sunday. I know I spent quite a bit of time mopping water, even here at Government House last night, and moving furniture out of the way of the leaks. So anytime you have wind-driven rain, you're going to have leaks and stuff going on in the house, and we expect to see more water during the day today. The good news is that the wind is dissipated, but there's a lot of saturation out in the road. The trees are wet, branches are hanging low, and any little gusts or anything will cause those trees and whatnot to be moving. So try to stay safe, try to stay indoors. It's Sunday, you know, it's going to be okay. Tomorrow is another day, it'll get done. And just hold tight for a little while and we'll be fine. In the meanwhile, I'll go right now to Andy Smith, who is our CEO of WAPA, and give you an update from them. Andy?
Good morning, Governor Bryan. Can you guys hear me okay? Good morning, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Fine. You can go ahead.
Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to members of the community. To give a more current update on what Director Joshin talked about, when going into last night, the crews worked pretty diligently yesterday to address outages as they occurred. We went into last night with 697 customers out of service on St. Croix and isolated pockets. St. Thomas, there were no outages that we were aware of. As the weather deteriorated last night, obviously we started to lose feeders, and we have a number of trouble calls that have come into to the authority. We currently have feeder on St. Croix, feeders 4A, 5A, 9B, and 10A that are currently out. So that's 4 Alpha, 5 Alpha, 9 Bravo, 10 Alpha. 8 Bravo has partial outages. Director Joshin mentioned the hospital. As we look to restore feeders, we restore the most critical service feeders first. And so we'll be prioritizing those as we go. On St. Thomas, the feeders Director Joshin mentioned are all now closed, so those services have been restored. We have a number of trouble calls across both districts, and so crews are starting to work on those as we speak. We mobilized crews on St. Thomas at 8 a.m. This morning because the weather conditions are a little better on St. Thomas. We mobilized crews on St. Croix a short while ago, I guess a little bit before 9 o'clock. So restoration efforts are underway, and we'll be working through those throughout the day. Hopefully, as the weather may improve as the day goes on as well. We may have noticed on St. Croix as well as St. Thomas some brief outages on additional feeders this morning. We've been struggling with a little bit of fuel supply on both islands. We have a third party who vaporizes propane for us that fuels our generators on both islands. They're having trouble principally on St. Croix. We do not have propane supply on St. Croix now. We are working closely with Sentinel, which is our third party provider, to troubleshoot that and get that back in service. St. Thomas, we have propane supply, but we're having a little bit of pressure fluctuation on that. Again, troubleshooting that to try to address that as we speak. Right now, propane inventory, we're in good shape. Where we have a little bit of concern is on St. Croix because we are now running on diesel. With the loss of propane supply, we currently have 3 days of inventory of diesel on St. Croix, and so we'll be monitoring that very closely as the day goes on. So that's the update I had, and Governor, Director Joshin, if there are any questions, be happy to address those.
All right, thank you, Andy, and thank you for that update. We just want to say a big shout out to our WAPA personnel at keeping the lights on as best as they can through this event. We know it's not easy out there, and to all those line crews out there working, best be safe. We're still getting a little wind and gusts every now and again, so we just want to make sure everybody's out there safe. All of you guys who worked through the night, all of my first responders, those people in the hospital, thank you for the work you're doing. But like I said, folks, it's looking pretty good. The storm is moving off right now, but there's a considerable amount of precipitation, rain, and whatnot in the tail end of this storm. And once it starts moving up by Puerto Rico, it's going to continue to rain here in the Virgin Islands for the balance of the day, probably until Wednesday. So as we get information, we'll be putting it out. That will be making its rounds to the radio stations and giving updates. But I think we're in good shape. We just got to make sure that we stay off the road, watch a little football this Sunday. Root for Dallas Cowboys. You know, that's a team that you should be rooting for all the time. Let me take some questions. Ernest, you got a question for me this morning?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I hear you loud and clear.
Yes. Good morning. A few questions. Have you had any calls from residents relative to needing assistance because of the rain, probably flooding or any issues as such?
This is Director Josh, and the calls we received from 911 last night, we are monitoring the calls in the EOCs also. It's more been power outages and support for that, but nothing that we're tracking for any rescues, if you will. But we do have 911 up operational. Both fire and police and EMS are available as needed.
Okay, thank you. And this one is for WAPA, the CEO there. You mentioned we're running low on propane. What exactly would that mean if we were to run out of this fuel?
So Ernest, thank you for the question. Actually, just to clarify, our propane inventories are pretty robust. We're looking at multiple days, roughly 9 days of inventory for propane. So we're not terribly concerned about that. St. Thomas for diesel, we have pretty robust inventory there too. We're at 8 days if we have to burn full burn on diesel, which is not currently happening on St. Thomas. St. Croix is where the concern is. We have 3 days of inventory. We'll be looking to mobilize a cargo here fairly quickly. That should be able to land in the territory towards the end of this week. If we are unable to restore propane, we would look to go to some sort of rotational outage structure, whereby we would have power on and current flowing to customers, but there would be interruptions to that service. I'm hopeful we don't get to that situation. We've got some time to solve this problem. Weather conditions for us should improve. Part of the issue that we're having on St. Croix with the propane supply is weather related because of the amount of rain that we've had. And so hopefully, even if we're not able to correct that, structurally in the short term, as the weather improves, we're hoping that propane service also may come back.
Excellent. Thank you. Lastly, Gov, relative to folks being on the road, I realize you're just offering guidance that, you're asking folks to stay home. No curfews or anything, just guidance.
Yeah, that's just guidance. No curfews or anything. The police and the fire EMTs, they got National Guard have enough work to do. We don't need to create extra work for them by getting into accidents, lack of visibility, all kinds of things happen. And while I know I paved a lot of the roads, there's still potholes there. And you see a puddle of water, you go through it, you mash up your front end because there's a pothole hiding. So it's just safe for all of us. Our emergency vehicles can move around a lot easier. And of course, the safety of individuals is a lot safer at home.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ernest. Everybody out there, stay safe. Remember, root for Dallas. Be good. Love you.